Hello, everyone. This is Steele with Studio Blue, and welcome so much to the Judges Roundtable for the RPG Maker MZ Touch the Stars Game Jam. Lots of love to everyone who's watching in chat or watching on VOD later. We're going to go ahead and start with an introduction of each of the judges, the four people who have made the magic happen. Let's go ahead with Drifty, Teal, Hawk, Benny. Guys, introduce yourselves. Say hello.
How's it going, everybody? I'm Drifty from Driftwood Gaming, and I've got T here with me. She's going to be fielding questions later. And thank you so much for inviting me, Touch, and thank you so much, Steel.
Hey, this is Teal from Studio Blue. I'm really glad to be here. Hey, everybody.
Hey, this is Hawk Zombie. I'm also very glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me, everybody. We're looking forward to this.
Should I do the short or the long intro? I'll do the long intro. Hi, I'm Benny or Cash, and I'm the host of a podcast called RPG Maker Cola, a casual and cool series of 2 to 3 hour episodes where I chat about game development and design with prominent game developers. Okay, that's the long one. I have a cat persona, but it's not a fursona. That's not a dig at anybody, it's just not my thing. I've been involved in game development, blah, blah, blah. I'll just skip that part. I make games. I judge. Thank you for paying me to be a part of this jam. I'm a judge for this jam. I like games, Amori.
You guys are amazing. All right, so if you have been living under a rock or in the Carlsbad Caverns, the Touch the Stars Game Jam is the official game jam that is sponsored by Komodo, and the whole point of it is to make the absolute best game that you can, to stretch yourself as a developer and stretch the RPG Maker MZ engine to the absolute limits. We completed submissions a little over a week ago. The judges have been plugging away at playing, and we have seen some amazing stuff by the community. I do want to say at this point that you all can start asking questions in chat right now. We have T from T's Jams who will be filtering and reading them off later. So if at any point during this presentation, this panel, this roundtable, you get a question that pops in your head, just write it down in chat. It will be asked later. All right, with that said, we're going to have each judge take a moment and ruminate, percolate, pontificate on their experiences in the first round. We'll go ahead and start with Drifty, then we'll just go down the line. Guys, the floor is yours.
How's it going, everybody? What's up, Meow Sticks, Megan Birds, Lemeski, Gabrielic? I see you guys here. Vero Claw, you guys are awesome. Thanks for tuning in. What's up, human being? Anybody else who's just lurking? Hope you guys are having a good day today. So I guess I don't really know what we're supposed to say here. We're supposed to talk about how we feel about the first round of the competition. I feel like I got some really good games and I got some really bad games. But no matter which game I got, I tried my best to leave feedback. So I've left you guys some suggestions on how to improve your games. And hopefully the other judges will do the same thing. I think I don't really have much to say here. I don't want to take up too much time. I know Touch has some obligations at the end, so I'll make it short and sweet. Thank you for having me. And if you have any questions, please let us know in the chat so T can write it down. And at the end, we'll get some time to answer those questions. So I'll just move the floor.
Okay, this is Teal. This is actually my first time judging, and I've got to say this has been a really fun and learning experience for me. I came into this and I thought, okay, I'm just going to be playing games, but guys, this is like amazing. I've seen some really amazing games. I've seen some really cool stuff. I've gotten into quite a few of them. In fact, I had to be told, get off this game. It's time to move on to the next one. I've just been having a lot of fun. And honestly, I've learned stuff too. There was a game that asked a lot of questions, and this is stuff I didn't know, so I learned. I was learning as I was playing. So I've had a really good experience so far with this round, and I'm looking forward to the next wave.
Hey, this is Hawk, everybody. Yeah, I gotta kind of mirror the sentiments of the other guys here. I've been having a blast with this. I've had some absolute gems of games, and I've had some that are a bit rough around the edges. But altogether, I've been personally impressed with the amount of just polish on the games that I have been playing. People have really been putting a lot into what they're doing with this one, and I don't know, I'm really impressed with what you guys have really put out, and I'm really looking forward to the next round.
And Benny.
Hey, I'm Benny or Cash, and oh wait, the wrong part. Okay, yeah, no, Hawk said that they mirrored the thoughts of the other guys here. However, I'm a cat, so I'm not sure if that applies to me. But so far, I didn't know that my glass was on the floor, so I'm just kind of dealing with that right now. There's water. I can't have the water right now. But anyway, the Game Jam games, I'm enjoying them so far. I've been enjoying being a Game Jam judge for the first time as well. It's been really fun. Thank you, yeah, everybody. It's 6 a.m. where I am, so I'm my cat brain is jumbled. But yes, I've enjoyed so far. I'm probably the furthest behind out of all four of the judges. Please forgive me for that. I have a podcast to edit as well. But everyone else also here has more content to edit for me, so I'm just an ADHD cat. How do you do? Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I love RPG Maker games. Yeah, this has been good.
You guys are absolutely amazing. All right, let's move on to the discussion panel where I'm going to ask a couple of questions. This is not directed at any one of you all, so feel free to have an open discussion. Anyone can throw out thoughts at any time. Any one of you can start. It doesn't matter. Let's go ahead and get some questions out of the way from us. All right, here we go. Question number 1 to you 4 judges. What were your expectations as a judge going into this jam?
Lots
Well,
of
Anybody?
games.
And we all talk at the same time.
Everybody
Well-
waits patiently and nice, and it's all very cordial, and then everyone go at once.
Very smooth podcast material. Yeah.
Go ahead, Teal. I think you actually went first.
Oh, I was just going to say I came into this without any a whole lot of expectations because this is my first time doing this. So I guess my expectation was just to play short RPG style games, and that was smashed against the wall like a pumpkin with the first couple of games I played, and it's been a wild ride since then.
I think my expectations were exactly kind of how it's played out. This isn't my first rodeo. This is like my 7th time judging a game jam. And what typically happens is all the games by the end of it start to blur and amalgamate into one big thing called the game jam. And it's hard to tell if someone asks me, what did you think of X game? And I'm like, which one was that? And I have to go through my notes and figure out what I wrote about it. So my expectations were to be kind of confused about the names and titles of games and have to go through my notes quite frequently. So I did a good job of taking notes while I was playing the games.
This is true. Hawk, you go first. Wait,
No.
what?
No.
Okay,
please.
this is true. Yeah, no, you. This is true. My expectations for the jam were games, and I got a lot of games. There were a lot of entries, more entries than I thought, and actually, oh yes, a cool thing that I didn't expect was that there will be a lot more like breaking of the limitations in this jam. So there's like a lot more of like sort of like. Yeah, I just didn't expect I thought I expected more default resources, but a lot of effort went into this, and the world's overwhelming. I was like, wow, this is fantastic. So I was just like overwhelmed. I liked, and I'm liking the judging process so far, even though I'm probably going the slowest out of the 4 of us.
Like Drifty, I kind of came with my own expectations because I've done a couple of game jams myself. I've hosted a few myself of a lot of similar games. Kind of, they all could kind of get sort of muddy. But I've actually been pleasantly surprised with the games that I've had. I have had some that just they completely stand out when compared to the others. So I've been really pleasantly surprised with my batch of games. So my expectations have been kind of skewed a bit just because of that.
Awesome. By the way, guys, if after y'all give an answer, if y'all want to talk back and forth, please feel free. I will wait for that long break before jumping to the next one. And yes, Wrath, this is exactly like a panel at a convention. All right, moving on to the next question. Everybody knows that you guys are judging, and judges in various game jams usually have categories, but you guys have not. You all have been given that freedom for judging based on your own metric. And the question is this: how have you 4 enjoyed that freedom of judging the games based on your metric instead of using categories?
Hmm.
I guess I'll go. I don't really have an opinion either way. If I'm pretty good at like following like protocol, and if you put me in a position where you say you have to look at just this aspect, I can, segregate the aspects in the writing of the game or the graphics of the game. And so, like, it doesn't really matter to me if you say judge it based on this aspect or judge it based on it as a whole. It hasn't really been a good or a bad thing for me.
Yeah, I haven't got any other experiences to judge it based on, so I'm fine. I haven't used any categories before, so I wouldn't know how that feels. But it's been nice. It's usually how I judge things anyway, is based on my overall impression rather than based on an aggregate of different categories per se. I don't go graphics like a average of graphics, music, and all this kind of stuff. I just sometimes the overall impression of a game is different than the sum of its parts, I guess.
That's kind of how I've been going at it too. With my other game jams that I've done, I personally have had categories, and I'm used to judges having categories for judging things against. But with this one, it was much more free. So I kind of personally have been using my own sort of metrics of, where I mainly focus on story, unique characters, unique settings, things that kind of speak to me as a player is what I've been kind of going with, and I've been kind of scoring accordingly.
Well, really, really enjoyed this freedom. I personally feel that the games that don't fit into some static category often get overlooked. And by doing it this way, I can look at all sorts of games and just look at them based on the different elements they have rather than do they fit in this category or that category. So I've really enjoyed having this freedom.
Mm.
All right. Okay, let's move on then. All right, and so each one of y'all have been streaming at least some of the entries, if not all of them. So, how has streaming some or all of the games that you've been judging so far, as opposed to just playing them offline, enhanced your enjoyment of judging?
I want to start this one up. I chose to not stream the games until I'd already played them, and only stream the games that I wanted to play a second time. Because I know, like, for me personally, and everybody has their own way of doing things, and so that's actually, just fine. Some people don't have the problems that I would have. The problem I have is I interact with the audience a lot, and sometimes that takes away from the game itself, and it takes the focus and narrative away from the game. And that could be a bad thing because you may overlook things while you're laughing with chat and whatnot. So for me, I decided if I wanted to give like really, really good feedback, I'm going to need to take breaks in between like parts of the game to write stuff down that I think at the moment, because I know by the end of the game I'll forget about an idea I have. That's, like I said, my problem. I have I'll forget by the end of it. So I stop in the middle of it and I'm just like typing very slowly and kind of boringly. I thought this was that, la da da da. And then, I'll continue playing it. But if I was doing that in a live stream, it wouldn't make for a good live stream. And sure, it would be a good idea to for my own personal brand to live stream the entries, because people have interest in it. It would result in more views, more watch time, more donations, yada yada yada. But Komodo's accommodating us properly for this, so I don't feel like I needed to justify that to try to make any donations on it. Not saying other judges are doing that. I'm just saying for me, I have my own like handicaps that I have to accommodate for. And I thought this time around, I didn't want to stream the games while I played them the first time. That's just the way I did it.
Yeah, true. I mean, I had no idea going into this. I had never judged a jam before, so I didn't know what kind of effect it would have. For me personally, I find my brain sometimes works a little differently. Once I play a game, it will be stuck in my mind. Quite a few of the positive and negative points. I don't know whether it's because of my reviewer nature. I think I was a reviewer even before I developed games, but like just writing like essay. I know people here also have written essays, but the way my brain works is that when I'm playing something, I can always remember the details of not always, but I'm probably yeah. But I think with the point you made about like interacting with chat, I think you mentioned to me that it would lengthen the time that so for some games I have sort of made sure I give it the time of maybe like an extra 5 or 10 minutes based on, because sometimes I'd be interacting with chat. So I try to give it an hour of gameplay time rather than, because sometimes I found, okay, my ADHD is like interacting with chat at this moment, so I have to give it, the full hour sort of thing. So that was my way of thinking.
Yeah, you've been receptive to our conversations, Benny.
Oh yeah.
For me personally, I'm very used to the whole streaming chat environment. I've never done any Let's Plays or just VODs of me playing a game on YouTube. I just started out the gate when I started this a couple years back, just streaming RPG Maker games. And when I did my own game jams, I did the same thing. I would stream the entries and I would kind of go in blind. So that's kind of what I did with this one. After I did a little 5-minute test thing to make sure there was nothing super offensive, make sure there was no game breaking in the first little 5 minutes, I would just play the games and just experience them. And for me personally, my whole brand is built around my interaction with my chat. But for these, I wanted to make sure I was also giving them the time and dedication that they deserved. So I was trying to minimize that while we stream, but it was still, for some games, it actually helped a bit because people were actually interacting with the game. There was more of a community sense around the game as I played it. And there was something that actually, I think, kind of enhanced the playing of the game as well.
One thing that was funny was when I tried rating other streams, I'm like, wait a minute, actually, I can't watch this. I have to go right now. Bye, sort of thing.
Yeah, I did the exact same thing. Okay, bye.
Well, I guess for me, I guess in hindsight, I think I would have done it more like what Drifty did. I would have played them offline to really get a good look at them without any distraction, and then I would have played, the best ones online, because I grinded. I mean, I sat there and ground for like 6-7 hours, and after a while, you just start getting fatigued. And I had to really watch myself because I didn't want to cheat the games that came late in the stream as opposed to ones at the beginning. And I think I've learned something here. I'm going to probably follow what Drifty does the next time I judge, so that every game gets the same amount of attention from me.
I don't know either. Yeah, I'll think about that as well. It would definitely be something to consider because, yeah, this is my first time, but it was quite fun, live streaming the entries, but I'll have to think about the positives and negatives.
Well, there's definitely positive and negatives to doing it either way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just have to be wise in the way you do it, yeah.
Well, you four are all very interactive with your chats when you do stream, which is one of the amazing things about you guys. And that leads us into our next question. When you've streamed, even if it's something that you've already played, how much has your live chat contributed to the overall enjoyment of each of these Game Jam games that you've streamed, and thus, of course, your overall enjoyment as a judge?
I think considerably, at least for me. Like I said before, my chat is almost kind of like the co-host of my channel. They kind of direct where the stream is going to go. Although on this jam, I made sure that I focus mainly on the game. But we'll go on tangents half the time, just not during this. So with them interacting with the games in that way, but also focusing on the games, I personally found it to be really good and really uplifting in a lot of ways too. And it helped me to actually enjoy a few of the games a little more.
Yeah, as I said, as a cat with ADHD, I'm just going to get distracted by chat, and I try not to. So I yeah, that same thing. Like I love it, but I just have to make sure that I give each person the full hour. That's the thing. So yeah.
I'll just kind of agree with Hawk here. I think the chat is a huge part, and they definitely make the entire process way more fun. And you get like immediate feedback and immediate gratification. And when you're like, I don't know how I feel about this, I kind of feel like this, and you can get people to say, yeah, I think that's right, or no, here's what I think. And sometimes even when they're opposed to your stance on like a feature or a function in a game, it at least makes you think about it. And so it does provide an immense amount of value. And I think we can all agree that having a live chat to talk about a game that we're playing as a group is just a bonus in most situations as far as experiencing it. But there's other aspects to consider.
Well, absolutely. For me, the live chat was like the the biggest source of satisfaction in actually playing these things, because the live chat, they were really cool. They were pointing out things I might have missed. They definitely helped me through some difficult spots. I mean, there were some puzzles that were just beyond me, and chat was like, no, do this and do that.
Yeah, they're kind of like a little guide in the background. Yeah,
Absolutely, and I love that. And I feel like the live chat was much more a participatory group than they were an audience.
It was funny. There was a puzzle where the incorrect information was given, and then they amended it using the page, and then chat was giving me information about the page, but because I have to judge the game that's in front of me, I had to say, nope, I'm going to solve this puzzle according to the information that's in this game. And needless to say, I didn't solve the puzzle, but my chat was gracious with me for being principled to my ways.
yeah. I had a similar
Yeah.
situation. They were telling me there was one part where I had to grind a bit, and they're like, "Oh, just cheat," and they're like, "I can't. I'm a judge."
yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
So
Go ahead.
no, I'm good. I'm done.
Awesome, guys. So you all are all considered to be subject matter experts when it comes to the RPG Maker engine, and over the years, each of you have offered various types of advice on game development. For this particular game jam, are you seeing the implementation of the advice you've given over the years? And if so, how does that feel? Is your pat yourself on the back moment?
I give advice.
Yeah, yes, you do.
I tell people not to make games. No, just kidding. Yeah, I've been here. Basically, I've been here for a year or so, but I think I'm more. I've been watching like some Driftwood tutorials and Studio Blue, and I've discovered Hawk Zombie recently, but become a big fan just like very quickly, and subscriber and like active in the chats and stuff. But like, yeah, I'm a big fan of everyone here actually, which is quite funny. I wouldn't consider myself the disseminator of knowledge, but like I'm pretty new on the scene as well right now, so it's quite funny. So I'll leave it to the experience. But I just wanted to say like people here, I've really enjoyed their work for a while already. So it's
Well,
I'm the
thanks,
one who's
Vinny.
being influenced.
Thanks.
No.
Thank you. I enjoy your work too.
You're
Thanks.
awesome. Yes.
I think we all
Yes.
like your podcast.
Yes. I love your
Totally.
podcast. Well, in looking at the entries that I've seen, the ones that I've played through, first of all, I do see a real effort to focus on the features that the dev wants to showcase, such as if they want to showcase the battle system or a fetching cooking system or something. They do that, and most of them do it without going into feature creep. Most of them, give you the one or two elements they really want to focus on, and they stick with it. So that's cool. But here's an even bigger thing that I've noticed. Most of the entries, I see a lot of effort put into the teach, enforce, test process. And this is something that Studio Blue is always talking about. And to see so many people, different folks, putting this into their game, doing it this way, it makes me feel pretty good. Like I've made a difference.
I don't know if I've
know.
made a difference or not, but I tell people what I think, and sometimes they listen and sometimes they don't.
Yeah, I ramble. I yell into the open air. Make games this way, and then it echoes into the night and dissipates into the cliffs.
It is good to get the random comment like, "Hey, I've been watching for a long time, and you're the reason I make games." Like, wow, that was a big one. I got that last night. I was like, "That's a good compliment." Like,
Oh,
okay.
that's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, every now and then, you'll get one like that, and you're like, I kind of like why I do this. I understand why, you feel motivated to continue doing something like this.
The funny thing is that probably like out of the one that say something to you, there'll be many that don't.
That's true. That's true.
Another thing to think about is you'll have 99 good comments and that one negative comment, and you're like, what did I do wrong in this video?
Yep.
Why does this person not happy? You can't make everyone happy. You shouldn't try to.
Yeah.
Taking me a while to learn
and
that one.
yet. Well, this is something. Okay, the Steele, when you were presenting your question, you kind of said something in passing about you know, something that we learned or we saw. I I just want to say that there was a game last night that made me feel completely dumb because it was asking questions about past RPG Maker iterations, and I didn't know much about it. So I was sitting there mostly and poor old chat was trying to help, and it was quite funny actually. But I'm like, I don't know as much as I thought I did.
They were pulling back information from RPG Maker 95.
Yeah. So it was
Wow.
yeah. So it's kind of forced me to go, I better start looking at some history.
Yeah.
Where we come from. Anyway, that's like, like a personal growth thing.
Mm.
I do just want to say, moving forward, that the past year, I have watched each and every one of you judges, and I feel, judged off the entries I've seen, that people are listening to you, even if it's just passing comments you make while you're streaming. So,
Right.
good job, good job. All right,
Cool.
let's move on, and now we're going to put our critical hat on for a moment. What are some of the biggest challenges that you feel the entrants as a whole need to overcome as they move forward as developers? In other words, what are the most common mistakes you're seeing being made?
Use
this
a
first
different
round.
title screen.
That's a big one.
Oh my
'cause
God,
because if you
please.
look at it,
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
If you look at the entries, you have like 12 games that all look like shooting the same default shooting star title screen. I'm like, great. It could be an amazing game, but if you don't market it right, you don't have a custom title screen, or at least put something to make it look different and unique. It's gonna it's gonna fall into the category of just default assets, and it won't get the fair attention that it may deserve. So yeah, I
Some
agree
of
with
them are
Hawk.
really good. Like really good, and they just have default title screens.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I found
true.
that too. Like just the shooting star, but then it's a great game. But it's
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
shooting. So you kind of have that like slight thing of okay, I played a bunch of these already. Is it going to be like those? And then it surprises you and like oh, this is great. But it's like at the same time, it's like I go in with that sort of slight stigma. Oh, it's just another kind of mediocre game that I'm going to be playing. But I'm glad that it surprised me. But it's like I shouldn't go in kind of expecting that.
Right, yeah. I mean, another thing I see, and I mean, this is going to be like beating a dead horse, but the default font, it's not hard to change the font, guys. It's very easy.
Yeah.
There's so many good ones out there. All right, I'm done.
Yeah.
Hashtag no default font.
Yeah. I think
Okay. And could folks please test your game? Like
Right.
test it,
Oh
please.
yeah. Oh
For
yeah.
Amen.
bugs, test it for realistic playability. Stop with the broken puzzles.
Some games
Just
wouldn't even play. Like they didn't even have an EXE in the.
I had more than one soft lock.
yeah, same here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So,
think
yeah.
oh, sorry, you go.
No, go ahead.
I think also like this might be on the like if you've already got a decent game but would stop it from being in my eyes an excellent game. There were quite a few of those this year. Well, I'm not usually a judge, so this is my first time, but I felt like there were a lot of games that I've played so far that were good, decent quality, but could have been a bit better around the gameplay portion if the concentration of interesting decisions was tighter. For me, at least that's sometimes what I feel, because like sometimes there's a lot of length or distance between interesting decisions in the game. So like long corridors, long stretches where there's not really anything interesting happening either story wise or gameplay wise. So I would just think about tightening up what you have. But sometimes it's hard with a game jam. You just slap tiles down. I have to get stuff done before the deadline, which is absolutely fine because that's what a deadline does to you. But in future, if you want to develop these games, I would consider tightening up the gameplay loops and making sure that everything has a purpose. Status effects have things that can heal them, and like everything works in tandem. Interesting decision. That's probably the way that I'm skewed. I'm very much a gameplay type of person. So
Yeah, I
That's
definitely
good
feel some of
advice.
the games. No, go ahead, Hawk.
I was just saying that's good advice.
Mm.
Yeah, some of the games were a little light on the gameplay aspect, like Benny was saying, and I do feel like, oh gosh, there's so much show text after show text, and sometimes the stories are good, but you get burnt out, and you just want to play a game and not read a visual novel.
I love visual
Yeah,
novels though, but also
yeah.
visual novels have a concentration of interesting things as well, you know.
That's true. That's
So,
true. Usually they
so
have ginorm. Never mind.
And you're gonna hear Studio Blue say this ad nauseum: show, don't tell.
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
I like that. Yeah. Well, I've heard it, but
Benny, you mentioned deadlines, and that is so important to be realistic with your deadlines. I experienced games, just over not just last night, but the other nights that I played too, where people were cramming too much into what's supposed to be a short game. There's just too much story. There's too much map to explore and traverse. Too many
yeah.
elements to experience, like let's throw in cooking, alchemy, smithing, and fishing.
Yeah. It's I feel like it's nice to have those if you can get them right one at a time or make everything feel
Mhm,
useful. But
mhm,
if
mhm.
not everything feels useful in the equation, then it can it just be a chance of being additive, but it ends up being much less than the sum of its parts. Yeah, so
Yeah,
there's that too.
to touch on that same point with battle system, I feel like some of the games put some of the devs put battle systems in their game just to have a battle system, and it did feel like contrived, and it wasn't really like thought out. There was no skills, like the numbers don't make sense. And I feel like even though I absolutely love battle systems and I want there to be battle systems, I feel like some games that put them in there shouldn't have because they weren't done right. If you're going to do it right. And
Yeah,
I think
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I had a few
yeah.
systems in a couple of games. It just it felt tacked on, almost as
Mhm.
if it was added to fluff up the time a little.
Oh,
right,
Yeah.
it's filler.
here's a good okay. I don't usually come up with like rules for every game, but like a good rule for RPGs plural is if you spam spacebar to attack to win the game for the whole thing, then it might not be a balanced RPG. You might have to add some complications in there. So that's advice is like sometimes like some of the best like game jam entries I've seen in the past, not judged but seen, have even just like removed the attack command and just gone with skills instead. That's one of the ways they've done it, so that every decision is interesting. And you might have like defend will heal MP, and instantly you have interesting decisions to make, even just two actions to choose between. But there was just a lot where it's just like spam attack, the most highest damage dealing thing, is the best thing to do every time. Yes, but it's hard to do in a game jam, format. I understand, but it's something, to think about in the future if you want to make these game jam entries into other not in game jam entries. That's
Awesome,
me.
awesome, guys. You guys are amazing. And speaking of amazing, let's talk about triumphs. What do you feel are some of the biggest triumphs that you've seen the entrance as a whole achieving? Things that the entrance can pat themselves on the back. So taking off the critical hat, putting on the compliment hat. Overall, what are some of the best things you've seen? In other words, people improved in mapping. Have people, great mapping, great systems, great graphics. What are the stuff that's really just stood out to you?
I've had a couple games so far that if I didn't know that this was an MZ game jam, I would not know they were made in MZ,
Oh
and that has just blown
Yeah,
me away.
yeah.
Yeah, there was one where I opened it and then I was playing. I was like, have I ever seen something done this good in the RPG Maker engine? I guess it's not a spoiler because you can still watch my streams. Sorry. Anyway, I won't spoil. But anyway, I was just like, how did you do this in RPG Maker? I literally do not know.
Yeah,
I
we don't want to
don't
be
know.
specific with names of games.
Yeah, I'm not going
Like
to be
there was
specific,
one.
Yeah.
Sorry to butt in. There was one
You
game
go.
that. Here's the thing. I don't like puzzle games, and people know this, right? A lot of people do. And one of my favorite games is a puzzle game in this jam. It's like one of the highest rated games I've put out there. It's a puzzle game, and there's no battle system or anything, and it's just done so very well. And I did not expect to see a puzzle game being one of the highest scored games that I put on my scores. So I'm very surprised at how they made like a puzzle type of Switch choice game become one of my favorites.
Well, as a puzzle snob, you're welcome. No, sorry. Puzzle is the best genre. No, it's not. Okay, all right. So, yeah, no, but I've found like making a puzzle game for a game jam is actually quite difficult as well because unlike battles, you can't just paste them in. You have to design them, and they have to and have one solution, and you have to. Yeah, so I've found puzzles quite difficult to implement. They're usually not padding for games. But battles you can put in, and you can say, "Oh, let's put another couple battles in there, and it will pad for a little bit." But puzzles, nope, you have to design each one individually. So
Yeah.
that's a big impressive thing. For puzzle games that have been in this, they've done everything custom. Sorry, and yeah, I'm taking a second turn. Yeah, that's me, Cash, with the spilt water, taking a second turn. I'm sorry, I have no decorum.
Well, getting away from the puzzle games for a bit, I think I've seen a lot of really good scripting. Doing things like, this is me. I'm famous for falling into holes and jumping in holes and cracks, and that's like, a big joke. But it's true that, you can script really good things to happen when you jump into a hole. And people have been doing that. I've seen a lot of really good scripting with that, movement scripting. And let's see, I've also seen good scripting with turning, I think, like turning a battle on its head. I don't want to give too much away, but there's a particular game where you can choose to not play the hero, but play the antagonist instead, like halfway through the game. And the whole game changes.
Right.
I mean, stuff
Interesting.
like that. I mean, just that to me, really focusing on the good quality scripting to enhance your player experience. That
That
I think is a big triumph.
sounds very innovative. Yeah, like using scripts for like innovation and creating new stuff. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, that was another thing about the impressive part is like innovation and trying new things. There was like some crazy awesome stuff, and I was like,
Oh, I
whoa,
know,
very
right?
impressed. I was like,
Mhm.
new
Yep.
things. Wow. Yes, that's what I liked.
Me too.
Oh, and humor. There was quite good humor in my entries so far. So yeah, anyway, I've loved how funny some of them were, and some of them
Humor and
unintentionally.
puns, yeah. You're gonna see some real punny games.
Yeah.
I love that.
That is fantastic, guys. And yes, some of these entries are side-splittingly hilarious and eye-droppingly impressive. So that's it from the questions from me, from us. So at this point, I want to open up to the Q&A. I see in chat that you guys have been fielding questions or sending out questions that T has been collecting. So T, my dear, at this point, I'm going to pass it on to you. What are some of the questions? Judges, feel free to answer if it's an open question, but some of these questions may be to the judges themselves. T, this is your show. Go for it.
Hey guys, thanks for asking all these awesome questions. The first one that I'm going to ask the judges is from Veroclaw23, and his question is, for all judges, is this jam different from any other you've hosted/judged in the past, besides prizes?
Yeah, this one's paid me a lot more money.
Yeah, this is one I've not paid to be a part of.
Yeah. Um, uh, like I haven't judged any other jams, but it seems that this one is a lot more streamed than other jams that I've seen. Like there might be, I don't know if there's not or there is or not, but there's like some feedback going on, sort of thing. Yeah. Yeah. But like, yeah, we'll see. But I think it's a lot more streamers as well, like in the judging panels. So there's a lot more feedback with the crowd in general. That's what I've seen anyway.
No, I agree with Benny that it's been more open. Our judging and our processes, it's been a lot more open in this jam than other jams typically.
Yeah, in that vein, it kind of reminds me of the ones that I usually host because I always stream all the entries. Then I'll give my final judgments at the end of that. But this one is certainly different because of the way that they set up the way that the judges could judge the games. There's no categories. It's just, hey, use your own metrics, go for it, have fun. It's like, okay, well, all right then.
I think I've tried to give more critical feedback, and I really wrote books to the devs after playing their game to try to not just say what I liked and what I didn't like, but suggesting what plugins they should use, suggesting ideas for improving the systems that they're already trying to implement. And to the best of my knowledge, trying to give as much as I possibly can back to the participants of this jam, because if it wasn't for the 120 people who submitted the game, we wouldn't really have anything to do, would we?
That's
For the
true.
game jam.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, hi everybody. I love you all. Thank you.
I think Benny's allergic to dead air. If there's
Yeah.
dead air, his
Yeah.
natural podcaster is going to come in and I
My
have to say something. I like
my
RPG Maker.
My fur itches. But and also I know 90% of you have come from me, but the other judges make awesome content as well. Go check them out as well. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Benny. I appreciate that.
Wow, I'm glad I get a 2%.
So magnanimous.
What a generous person we have here.
I know what I yes. Someone pick up the glass of water for me.
Dee, do we have any other questions?
Yes, we do. We have a couple more questions. The next one is from Gabrielik, and he asks, what are your thoughts on default assets? And if you're a fan, what approach would you recommend to people building their game with them?
Personally, I have no problem with using default assets as long as they're used in a unique and creative way. We all here have played games that they just basically slap a bunch of sample maps into them. And even I am starting to get a little like, okay, come on, guys, be a little more creative. I'd rather have a square map with like 2 boxes in it than a sample map sort of thing. So just as long as you're creative with the resources you're given, then that speaks volumes.
I kind of agree with that. Yeah, I think it's a game jam, right? So there's going to be default assets, and that's to be expected because you don't have time to make everything custom. But you do get to see the people who went above and beyond and decided, even though it's a game jam, I'm going to make all these custom assets. So it does set them apart, and there is a reason why you'd want to go that custom route. So I think you can still win the game jam with default assets, but man,
certainly.
you're going to have to do a lot of work and make the game just stellar because you know. It really shows a lot of extra commitment when you customize everything. So you can use them, like Hawk said, and you can still win, but it's going to be a lot harder if you're not making custom stuff.
Yes, I think like some of my favorite RPG Maker games of all time have used default assets. Remnants of Isolation, Cope Island, the Jam Edition. But even though there was the remake, and there's some other ones that were fantastic that use the default assets. So like and Soul Sunder. So there's just like a bunch of them that have. I can't remember exactly what the common theme is. I think the common theme is that they managed to bring about like an atmosphere and narrative momentum despite using default assets. So the thing that I think that sometimes default assets all round can kind of give is like a lack of atmosphere. Sometimes it's easy to create atmosphere with custom graphics, but you can still create atmosphere with default graphics if you use the right plugins, if you have the right timing and the music. And I think that's what it is. It just has to feel different, a little different, I think, from just the complete, I guess, experience of, hey, I'm just walking around in a world map. Hey, I'm just jogging around and killing a monster. I think there needs to be a little bit of extra care taken for like directorial control. If you're going to use, that's my opinion about it anyway. If you're going to use default assets, yeah.
I agree with everyone.
Very well put. I agree with those who agree with me.
Excellent.
Hey, I agree with you.
Very well said.
Yeah.
All right, what else we got?
Okay, so the next question is also from Gabrielik, and it is another question. What are the top 3 things you think new developers could do or not do to improve the overall quality of any future projects?
We have to give 3 things.
3.
Top 3
Three.
things that developers can do to improve the quality of their games.
Not
that the
4,
question?
not 2,
Top
only
three.
3.
Yeah, 3 things.
5 is right out.
5 is right out.
Yeah, 3 things to my brain actually ADHD, I forgot the question. 3 things to improve your game. After? Is that what it is?
Customize something. I guess
Hey,
number one, customize something. Number two, use as little default as you can get away with using. And number three, if you decide to make a system, make it fleshed out. Like, don't put a battle system if you don't plan on balancing it. Like, whatever you do so. If you're going to do something, do it right. And if not, try to not include it in your game. That's the best I can do for that question.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to put on my teacher hat for a second. The top 3 things you can do. First of all, organize yourself. Your game is a project, so treat it as project. Do project management. Okay. Plug. Studio Blue has project management stuff. So check us out.
Yeah.
So project management, first of all, and that does include the GDD. The second thing you can do is testing, test. I cannot emphasize this enough. You've got to test your game in every possible way and get those beta testers to try to break it. That's the point. You've got to have a completely playable game as bug-free as possible. Or else you're done. And the third thing that you can be doing to improve yourself is figure out your audience. I see too many games nowadays that are they're a horror game and they're trying to market to RPG fans. Not all RPG fans are into horror.
Yeah.
There's a lot of folks out there in action and stuff that are into horror too. Figure out your audience. Hey, or even better, your demographic. Are you targeting children and teens with your game? Are you targeting college students, adults? Are you targeting male, female, cats? Are you targeting cats with your game?
Yeah.
So figure
Yeah.
that out, and then make your game accordingly. That's my 3.
There's some good points in there for sure.
Okay, the writer in me is going to come out here.
Yes.
The top 3 things that any that me personally, I think that any dev could do to really improve themselves as a developer and as a storyteller is believable characters. That should be the number one. You should have.
Yeah.
Every story is going to have certain tropes and certain cardboard cutout type of characters, but how you flesh those out and how you tell those tropes is what sets your story apart. So you want to make sure you have believable characters with believable dialogue. A villain, I was actually thinking about this in the shower this morning. A villain monologuing is basically the writer patting himself on the back.
Yeah.
Because hey, this plan I came up with is so awesome. I'm going to give it all to you right now. It's like, okay, most players will pick up on this. And sure, a little bit of monologuing is fine because you want to, sure, the character likes to gloat a little bit. Okay. But a big, long monologue is just the writer patting themselves on the back. So keep it short and succinct for certain scenes. And sure, if you have a character that likes to chew the scenery, that's one of their traits, go with it. But just do it in proper amounts. The second thing I would say, okay, yeah. So first of all, believable characters. Second of all, believable dialogue. And third, proofread. Get somebody to play through your game or read through your script. Doesn't have to be an English major.
Yeah.
Just get a friend to just a second set of eyes helps so much. And you would be amazed how much just even a few light typos can just kill the immersion in a game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it can. And does.
There was an entry I think would have maybe gained a couple of points if they had a proofreader because it was so so intrusive. Yeah. So make sure you do that. Is that was that 2 or 3, or did you want to? Were you continuing, Hawk, or should I jump in here?
Oh, no, those are my 3 points as a writer. So
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that's funny because I'm starting to think about like the different ways that each of us 4 judges have like different strengths. I suppose mine would be more gameplay centered. Like I said earlier, if you have something in your game, make sure it's testing a skill, like a good skill. That's how I like to think of it. If if it's not testing a skill, if you're not having interesting decisions if it's not causing interesting decisions in battle, if it's like causing a status and it's decreasing your HP that you can't even cure it, is it even a good addition to have, or is it just a hindrance? Try to make sure that every, ailment has a cure so that you can balance, especially in RPG battles. If you have a status, it's nice to have access to an antidote to help heal it so that you can decide, oh, should I use an item here, or should I use an attack, or should I use my skill, or should I use the skill that attacks all, or should I use the skill that heals one, or should I use the skill that cures it? But like for each of them, they should be there for a reason. For example, if you have a status-based battle system, then center it around statuses. If make sure you know what your battles system and game system decisions are about, and orient your game around those decisions to make fun gameplay. And that's a simplification, but that's the best advice I can give for tightening up gameplay. And that would be a great way for some of the entries I saw to both reduce things that you don't need and build upon the things that worked. Yeah.
All right. What's the next question?
Okay, so the next question is from Hector Maza, and he asks, I have another question. Since there are diversified, novice, as well as experienced developers in the jam, will the facts be considered individually and in teams, or will there be no distinction in that?
Well, I mean, there's prize money on the line here. So, like, you can't say, well, we're going to handicap this game because there's professionals working on it, when this newer person who's, maybe a young kid or something is going to get a better score because they're young. It's really like, if it was for fun, and in most game jams that would be considered probably more, but when you put prize money on the line, you kind of have to have like a cut standard that everybody follows. And that's my opinion. That's how I'm scoring it, and I'm only one of the judges here, so curious to see.
For me, I've seen so many cases where the unknown developer just comes out with something amazing. That background doesn't really matter to me anymore, because true talent can come out of anywhere. Great products can come from anywhere, and I've seen that happen. So regardless of who's in the team, it's gonna work. Regardless, it's gonna work based on you.
I didn't even, when I was judging, I didn't even look at who developed the game.
Yeah, me.
Same. I specifically did not look at any of the games before I started judging them.
I don't care about that. I care about the game.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm looking at, not who did it or didn't do it.
Exactly. Yeah. I've said all I said about that one.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I like, that's another thing I like about the RPG Maker community, is how grassroots? Is that the way? It's just so collaborative, and everyone supports majority, supporting each other, and just the environment that is produced out of it. Like the fact, like that Ratatouille quote, anyone can cook. It's like the RPG Maker thing. Anyone can make a game, and it could come out of anywhere. I think that's even more true of RPG Maker than other engines. I think that's my opinion of it anyway, because it just feels like it's more accessible, and the person who didn't think they could make a game picks up the engine and makes something amazing. You're like, wow, that's cool. Yeah, that's what I like about it.
Yeah, same.
Cool. Alrighty.
So if that's all the answers
Sweet.
to this question, we can go on to the next one. This one is from Phoenix Girl 1. When streaming the games, and say the dev of that game is watching you stream their game and are in chat, do you feel that they're influencing your judging process?
No, not at all. No.
Nah.
No.
Yeah.
I personally,
I may be a little more forthcoming with my commentary, but I'm keeping everything close to my chest. I don't say too much one way or the other, because well, that wouldn't be fair to other people.
Mhm.
I keep a lot of my comments, and I try to keep my teacher hat off, because I'm supposed to be judging.
Yeah.
So I don't let that influence me at all. And if a Deb is in the chat looking for me to do that, they're disappointed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I
I think.
personally. Oh, go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Well, I personally, it's the same thing. If a dev is in the chat, I personally love it when devs are in the chat whenever I play one of their games. But for the game jam, and if I would like recognize, like I'm friends with a lot of devs in the community too, so I kind of give, if I recognize the game, I kind of give a little disclaimer. Hey, just so you guys know, I'm a friend of this dev, but I'm not letting that affect my judgment whatsoever. If any were in the chat, I would not let them affect. And one thing I've noticed that devs is kind of a tendency to kind of lead players towards where they want them to go to make sure that things go right. I purposefully would ignore those kind of comments just because I wanted to play the game as a blind player going in, just playing it and just trying to judge it from that. So
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not live streaming the games while I'm judging them for this competition, but I've done that in the past. And when the when the devs show up, I really do appreciate that, because it shows that they are interested in what the people think about their game, and that's good for feedback. So I'm always encouraging that the devs do show up to people live streaming their game. But at the same time, like, you can't let that, as a judge, especially since there's money on the line, you can't let that affect your scores at all, because that's going to be skewing the outcome. So you kind of have to be a steel trap and be like, I appreciate that you're here, and it makes it easier to give feedback because they are there and receptive. But at the same time, you cannot let them, change your scores.
Yeah, I'm aware of the situation that if it becomes, if I need to shut down, if I need to not look at chat, I won't. It's like at a point where I feel okay, it's probably wise not to look at chat at all. Minimize the window, just play straight play the game without interacting.
I can't do that.
Yeah.
No, I can't do that. But like at the same time, you just have to do your best to filter, naturally.
Yeah.
Skim over it and read it. Okay, I can't answer that. I can't answer that. I can answer this one, and so forth and so on.
If I feel like I have to, like if there might be spoilers for something, or if I feel like they're trying to give advice for the game, like, no, I can't take advice for this game. This game has to stand by itself. Minimize the window.
Yep,
But
yep.
I'm not like I don't build. My streaming is not my main thing, so I understand the need to interact with stream for those who it's more central to their function in the community.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, what else we got?
Okay, so the next question comes from Human. He's totally a human. And that is, does the effort or innovation play into your judgment? For example, if someone used Visustella plugins versus made their own plugins, does it matter apart from gameplay?
I mean, yeah, right. I
Yes.
mean, I think so, because you're like, this person with the extra effort and coded their own custom plugin for this, or you'd wonder, did they event this? If they did event it, it's still impressive. It's actually maybe sometimes in a lot of cases more impressive if they were able to event something that maybe should have been its own standalone plugin. So I think it would definitely work in the favor if something unique that we haven't seen come up. Like even a game that was super buggy, I was still sort of impressed with it, because like it made like an action RPG style out of RPG Maker, and I knew that was a lot of custom coding. Go ahead.
Yeah, for me
Yeah.
personally, if I could tell a game had a lot of ambition, even if it was kind of buggy or even incredibly difficult, I tended to kind of take that into consideration because they put a lot of effort. You could just feel the effort that was put into the game with either custom assets or the way that the game played it. Even though the balance was way off, it was still impressive to me.
Yeah, I don't know if this is a controversial opinion, but I have a personal. Well, I say that just before I say something that's probably not controversial at all. But I have a personal opinion about every game. There we go. But but I suppose I do like a lot of ranking of stuff by myself for my own personal enjoyment anyway. And that's just I find it just supremely easy to translate that to game jams personally, because I'm doing that all the time by myself. But basically, whether it's RPG Maker or another engine or any other type of engine, I usually judge all games based on that same rubric. And sure, innovation, and you can tell if the engine's being stretched, but I'm not sure if I always judge it based on the effort alone. I'll judge it based on the overall impression I get, which is entirely subjective based on my personal experience, even if I know that I am taking also into account some things like, well, if maybe I'm having a personal experience that I would not have had if I played it differently, and it might not just be for me and stuff like that. So I do a little bit of like opinion switching to kind of aggregate with my personal one. But basically, if you use innovative stuff or break I just thought of some caveats. But basically, if I made any sort of sense, it was there. I'm a cat.
What?
Sorry.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, I lost my train of thought halfway through there, but hey. Yeah.
I legit belly laughed at that. What else we got?
Sorry, guys. The next question. The next
can do
question
this.
is from Megan Bird. What do you recommend devs do if they have writer's block?
Right as
Talk.
exactly.
You learn to live with it.
Yeah.
No, personally for me, I kind of immerse myself in things that give me inspiration, be it music or television or cartoons, and anything that kind of sparks that creativity. It may not be something that would directly influence what I'm working on, but just kind of being around that sort of creativity and the things that I personally like and that kind of get me going can help me in other ways. So that's how I personally deal with it.
Yeah, play a game. Play a video game that you like. Play a board game that you're into with some family members. Figure out the mechanics of a system that they did, and figure out what you like to do for fun, and then try to make a game that you would want to play. And what kind of stories are you interested in? You have writer's block. What stories did you like reading as a kid? Did you grow up reading like Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter, or what did you read then? Go back to your roots and try to figure out what first inspired you to do what you're doing, and try to expose yourself to new experiences. Play new games, even games that you may think that you wouldn't want to play. And then maybe through experiencing something new, you'll have a new idea, and that's the hope anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I'm about to say that I have a controversial opinion, even if I don't know if I do. But I think I do have a controversial opinion. Anyway, there's also the thing, like game developers block, where you open a map and you want to put tiles down, but you have no idea where to put the tiles, and you start doubting yourself, and you start going, "Can I even make games?" and stuff like that. So writer's block or game developers block or anything like that, what I do is copy others. Well, that's pretty much similar to what was said. I play my favorite games, and then I might go, okay, I'm going to try and make something that looks like that, even if it's not wholesale copying. You try not to copy straight up, but I'm very much influenced. I don't know, the Tarantino of game development. Just like steal, scenes, steal like shots from other games, but repurpose them for your own. Yeah, all that kind of stuff. I don't know. It might be frowned upon, but hey, copying is good. Do it.
No, I agree with you. I think sometimes you have to take inspiration, copying ideas from other games that you really like, and use those in a unique way. Take something that's been done well, that you enjoy, that other people enjoy, and flip it on its head and say, this is the same thing you've seen before, but here's my version of it. That's a good answer.
Yeah, I think I've read theories of innovation. That innovation is not just thinking of a idea from nothing, because that's impossible. You always have influences. Innovation is the melding of different influences in a way that hasn't been seen before. So we're always a product of our influences. If we have writer's block. Oh, another thing about writer's block or developer's block I've found, just smash through it. Like, that's actually, well, you ride the ebb and the wave of creativity, but also sometimes you might have to veer up the approach and go, nah, I'm just going to stick at it, smash through it. One of the things that I never used to do, I used to just like sit at the brick wall and be like, well, I guess I can't do it, and then walk away. But I think if I try chipping away at it, like how doing the chores, if you do the first 5 minutes, the next hour is a bit easier. Yeah, that's what game development sometimes is. You look at this big wall and you go, I have a block, but sometimes it takes that little first chip to actually chip away at the big block. That's me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next,
All right.
that was good
What
answer.
else? Yeah.
Okay.
That's
So the next question, and incidentally, the last question from Budar Jump asks, how would each of you in order of import I'll start over. How would each of you order importance when it comes to your personal taste? Gameplay, story, and graphics.
Gameplay story. Yeah, that's just like that. Gameplay, story, graphics. That's my opinion.
I'm sorry. I meld them all together.
No. He's asking for a list. Like if you have these three, it's really putting us in a box here. It's saying you have
Yes.
3 things. Put them in order. Which one's more
I
important?
refuse.
Yeah.
I will always refuse. I 100% vehemently, it's my thing to refuse.
All right. Well,
I
that's not the
refuse-
question though. Like the question is, what
but
either you
this is my-
don't answer it and you don't take a.
This is my answer. I will never chop it up into such because I don't think it makes sense. That's my answer. I will never. It's always a combination. I don't see it in that way. Yeah.
Fair enough.
My controversial opinion is I completely disagree with Benny.
Oh, okay.
For me, it's story all the way. Story
Right.
for me trumps gameplay and graphics. I will say obviously that if a game does not have enjoyable gameplay, that story alone will not carry it. But I have always been able to ignore graphics, like poor graphics, to a point, if the story is really phenomenal and if the gameplay is serviceable. For me, I say this again and again, I am very story driven when it comes to my games, the way that I play them.
Awesome. Good answer.
Yeah. I like that. Even if I disagree, yeah.
It's been fun,
Well-
guys. It's been fun. I appreciate everybody for being here, and thank you for having me, Touch, and thank you for being the MC, Steel. I
Yeah,
really
very
appreciate
welcome.
it too,
Teal, did you
yeah.
answer that question?
I didn't get a chance to answer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
My
go.
bad.
And that's all the time. Sorry.
For me, story and gameplay go hand in hand. I love a good story, but if I can't play through the game, Vagrant Story, then I'm not bitter. Then it just it's lost. It's lost it to me. But again, if it has great gameplay and the story sucks, Fallout 4, then again, I feel like I'm bored. I'm just bored. So I have to have a good story and good gameplay. They have to work together. And
yeah.
I don't give a rat's butt about graphics.
Yeah.
You can have little cardboard cutouts going across the page. Doesn't matter to me. But yeah.
Good answers.
Awesome. Thank you very much, T, for fielding those questions, and a huge thank you to Touch for making this happen, and of course, all the love to our 4 judges. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. I do want to say that we are only finishing up with round 1. So while we're having a roundtable, the jam is far from over. So please continue to watch these 4 awesome judges and see where they take round 2 all the way to the finals, etc. Each one of you, let's just go down the line. Drifty, Teal, Hawk, Benny, and just say a few words of farewell and love.
Thank you guys so much. I'm sorry for cutting you off earlier, Teal. I thought everybody was done.
Sorry.
I thought we were done. I just wanted to say again, thank you so much, Steel, for emceeing. Thank you so much, Touch. I appreciate you and everything you do behind the scenes. I just want to acknowledge this really cool background with all the animated things. He's been working on it for a while, showing us little teasers, and it really came out nice. I think you did a fantastic job, and I personally really enjoyed watching it while we were doing this. So thank you so much for everybody involved, all the other judges. You guys are awesome. Keep doing your awesome work, and I can't wait to see which game wins this jam.
I I just want to thank everybody for tuning in, not just to this particular stream, but for all the streams, for all four of us who are judging and playing. Thank you very much for tuning in, supporting, chatting, helping us through tough spots. You guys are amazing, and thank you for Touch for giving us this opportunity to do this.
Yeah, I feel very honored to be up here with the other judges. You guys are all awesome in your own rights, and thank you to Steele for emceeing this. Thank you to Touch Fuzzy for again all the stuff you do behind the scenes. This is awesome. I really can't express enough how much I really enjoy all of this, and I can't wait to see what round 2 brings. And shout out to my homies, you know who you are.
Yeah. I keep telling myself the whole thing, don't be too silly. Don't be too silly. It's like my brand to be the most scuffed person in the room at all times. But anyway, that's unrelated. Thank you for allowing me to be a judge on this. I've been looking onward for a decade now at the great figures of RPG Maker, Annals of History, and it's actually been a privilege to see people listen to people listening to my podcast, and also just being up here on this table with my no drinks to replace the one that's currently on the floor. But yeah, I forgot what I was talking about. But hey, I've been enjoying it, and I can't wait to see what happens next.
Thank you, T, for reading the questions. Appreciate you, honey.
Yeah.
100%.
Thank you very much, T.
Yes.
It was a
All
pleasure.
Yes,
right.
thank you, T. Yes.
All right. Well, everyone who's watching, be sure to continue to catch each one of these 4 amazing judges as we go into round 2 and beyond. Touch, thank you very much. Say goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Everybody.
Bye.
Bye. The cats are released.
Meow.